Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this bill is concerned with road safety. Road safety, Madam Speaker, is about risks that are generated by the traffic itself. Fatal accidents are caused by various factors. First, driver's behavior, example, excessive speed, drink driving, and now we have the most serious one, drug driving. Inappropriate infrastructure, this is serious cause of accident as well. Example, lack of facilities for pedestrians, where there is no pavement, lack of pedestrian crossing, no proper signs, no proper road markings. These are issues which very often cause fatal accident as well. Lack of appropriate lightings, and also when both road users, including pedestrians and drivers, are distracted by using mobile phones, wearing headset and earphones, especially when it comes to pedestrians. Madam Speaker, according to the WHO Global Status Report on Road Safety 2015, road traffic injuries are currently estimated to be the 9th leading cause of death across all age groups globally, and are predicted to become the 7th leading cause of death by 2030. Further, Madam Speaker, road traffic injuries place a heavy burden both on the national economies as well on households, and in many cases contributes to poverty, especially when the breadwinner of the family is a victim of a fatal, serious road accident. But, Madam Speaker, this is the 4th amendment this government with this minister we are bringing to the Road Traffic Act. The first one was in 2015, a few months after the general election. And the first one, we must say, I don't want to do politics, it was a political decision. In fact, the Honorable Minister, while introducing the bill himself, he said that they are coming with this bill to do away with speed camera, which was off for months, just because it was promised to the electorate. Without any research, without any evidence whether that speeding camera was contributing to fatal accident or reducing fatal accident. Just because it was a popular decision announced during the electoral campaign, just a few months after, this minister, the government, came with a bill to do away with the speed camera. And he was proud to inform the House, and I quote, in fact, the list of 19 serious road traffic offenses contained in the 3rd schedule in the Act is being reviewed and will be brought down to 11 serious offenses. Which will be easy to understand and be memorized by road users. And today, 3.5 years after, what we are doing? We are coming with a new law to make the law harsher, tougher. I'm not saying it's wrong, but this is what we are doing than it was under the previous regime. So we are going a sort of a way of a trial and error. Change the law without any evidence to support why we are taking this decision. Any study done. Again, with this amendment, in fact, in the 2016 amendment as well, the government realized in 2016 that by the remove the speed cameras, they took a wrong decision. So they came back again with speeding camera and tougher penalties this time. And I quote, when you look at the crime justice statistics for the year 2015, it is important to note, this is what the statistics said. I quote, road traffic contravention decreased by 8% from 224 855 in 2014 to 206 835 in 2015, mainly due to exceeding speed limit, which decreased from 96,872 to 35,395. And it is to be noted that the figure for 2015 is not strictly comparable to that of 2014, mainly due to the fact that speed cameras were inactive from 10th January 2015 to the 5th of September 2015. Already bringing a culture to our drivers, triggering the wrong signal, telling them now you can speed. No speed camera for nearly 9 months. And it is only now, in his speech last week, that the Honorable Minister had to admit. 3.5 years later, I quote, in Mauritius, presently we have 62 speed cameras around the island. And when we, their positioning inspected, Mr. the Speaker, sir, that kill and seriously injured victims would be drastically reduced. The two governments remove all the cameras. 3.5 years after, now the minister realized we have 62 cameras and this will drastically reduce victims and fatal accident. So there is no a long-term plan by this government. 4 amendments. And the last time in 2016, when we reintroduced the penalties board, it was for 6 offenses. Was changed to 5. Now it's going back to 5 consecutive offenses. So we are playing with figures, playing with numbers, playing with the quantum of the fines, without really a serious study being done, although we have expensive advisors from foreign countries. But we don't have a serious work done with regard to our road, the road infrastructure, the road traffic, the way we give license, the way we give the riders, motorcycle riders, the license. Now, the auto école, before it starts operational, we are hearing about scandal. Matters have been reported to ICAC, there is, I don't know what. So there's a real problem. Same minister, 3.5 years ago, 3.5 years in power, we're still amending, we're still trying to find solutions for such a serious issue, and in the meantime, people are dying. Families are losing the close one. People are being handicapped. So I have listened carefully to the Honourable Minister with regard to the drink and drive bill. The drink and drive in the bill. One would have expected him to come forward with empirical evidence, studies done, 3.5 of there has been so many fatal accidents. Majority of them involve young people and drinks and drugs. One would have expected him to come and give us figures. Tell us why we are choosing the 20 milligram level of alcohol instead of hiding behind the FSL. Tell us that the evidence we have gathered during the last 3.5 years, because the tests are done on victims at the hospital following fatal accidents to know what the level of drug and the level of alcohol. Come and tell us. I've asked a question this morning. Unfortunately, it has not been reached. Perhaps the Honourable Minister can take it from the Minister of Health and inform us in his summing up. How many accidents there have been in the last 3.5 years where the level of alcohol was between 20 to 30? Because 51 is positive, 86 is positive, 100 is positive, 120 is positive. But give us Don't tell us there has been 80% positive and 20% negative, because we are changing the quantum from 50 to 20. Don't tell us because the FSL don't have equipment or this that we have to go 20. It must be evidence-based. And this we have been left without any answer. How many serious or fatal accidents were at alcohol level over and above the prescribed limit? And by how much? In most of the cases I've seen in court, it's over 80 to 90. But tell us how many from 20 to 50. But at least we have the book which my honorable leader, Honorable Béranger, referred to, the Veda Baloomoody and Munisami, have tried. Even the statistics doesn't tell us the figures. We have tried to find out why. Have there been tests on certain people to find out their way of driving, giving them 20 milliliters, giving them 30 milligrams, giving them 20, 30, and see what reaction we have on the driving? We have an expert. We could have done a sort of empirical test to find out. But this gentleman, and I saw Honorable Minister Buddha make a smile, a bit sarcastic, when Honorable Béranger was referring to that gentleman, Mr. Bolen Munisami. This gentleman has been in the police force since 1989. He has been in that department. He has a degree in transport management. He has a degree from Portsmouth University in police studies. And he has been at the road traffic for so many years. And he has taken the position of writing a book. Now, in his book, he has conducted certain tests, and he has come to the conclusion that between 30 and 50 is at this stage that you affect the driving, that the beginning phase, no noticeable problem, but especially reduced visual range, disturbed movements, poor appreciation of distance, etc. Now, we have seen in many countries what is the level of drug allowed. The Honorable Minister made reference to Europe. Good example. But in Europe, only 1, 2, 3, 4 countries have either 0 or 0.2. That's 20 milligram. The majority have 5, it's 50 milligram, but they make a difference between drivers and novice drivers. And when we look at our statistics and the number of youth who are involved in fatal accident, perhaps this should have been a beginning for the youth. Have 2 levels of alcohol, a lesser one for the young, the novice drivers. In most of the countries, they have novice drivers, where it is 50 for normal commercial drivers. It is 0.2, it's at 20 for novice drivers. Perhaps this is a starting point to get our youth. Because when we look at the statistics, the majority of riders, 33 victims, only from 10 up to 11th of January, and we should add 2, the recent one in the north, who passed away, the 2 young boys. 33 victimes âgées de 16 à 25 ans. 27 entre 26 à 50. So, youngsters are quite involved with in the accident, so probably we should have come to a 2-phase, one for mature drivers and one for novice drivers, and also the same level for novice drivers for commercial drivers, those who drive motorbus, public carrier vehicles, public vehicles, carry passengers, etc. Now, let me come to an amendment which 2 sections of the Road Traffic Act which unfortunately this law does not deal with. In fact, I'm referring especially to these two sections following the decision of a court to sentence one driver who has been under influence of alcohol, high level of alcohol, who killed one person, handicapped for life another one, and seriously injured two persons. And he was sentenced for 1 month of imprisonment and for 175,000 rupees fine. So when I read that, many people were shocked. I thought that the magistrate was wrong in law. In fact, she's not wrong in law. The law is wrong. When you look at the charge of causing death by careless driving under influence of intoxicating drink or drugs, the offense is 50,000 rupees and for a term of imprisonment not exceeding 5 years. 50,000 rupees not exceeding 5 years. But there is a caveat in this, which says that section 153 of the Criminal Procedure Act will not apply. What does section 153 tell us? That the court, where under an enactment a court sentences a person for an offense for which the penalty of fine is provided, like in this case, the court may, unless the enactment otherwise provides, inflict a fine less than the minimum fixed by the enactment. So with regard to the fine, he can give the less than what that law says. But with regard to custody, section 52, which deals of the Criminal Procedure Act, deals with imprisonment. So section 152, where under any enactment a court sentences a person for an offense for which the penalty of imprisonment with or without hard labor is provided, the court may inflict with or without hard labor for a period less than the minimum. So section 52, 152 applies, is not limited, is not restricted. So the magistrate pause, because 153 speaks about fine, give the minimum fine with the law required, but she had a free hand when it comes to the imprisonment. And this is why she gave 1 month imprisonment. And when you compare that with the next offense, driving or being in charge of motor vehicle while under influence of intoxicating drinks or drugs, 123E. So here there is no death. You're only driving and you're found to be under drink of alcohol or drug. And here, both sections apply. The magistrate has no discretion with regard to fines and no discretion with regard to custody. Which means that if one is under the influence of alcohol and death is occurred, the learned magistrate has to apply the minimum as per the Act only when it comes to fine and not to custody. But if you drive under alcohol and there is no death, then she has to apply it. She cannot apply the minimum. She has no discretion with regard to the minimum, both to fine and custody. So there's a problem. So I am proposing that we come with an amendment. It's not a difficult amendment. Just amend section 123D of the Road Traffic Act and just add one phrase after section 103. We had section before 103, we had section 152. So it would read section 152, and Section 103 and Part 6 of the Probation Act, the Probation Offences Act, etc., will not apply. Because we are passing law, we are debating law here, but it has to be put into practice. And under the same heading, I will come to certain offences which I feel are dangerous offences where Section 153 should not apply. I'm speaking here of offence number 31, which deals with driving a motor vehicle in such a position that the driver is unable to have proper control of the vehicle, rally, zigzagging, etc. This is dangerous driving. The fine in 2000, we have to make sure that the court imposed the fine of 2000, not use the discretion of Section 153 and give 200 or 300, because this is dangerous driving. Many accidents are caused by such act. We are talking about Section 52. On the crossier. You know how many people are injured? Some are killed even on the crossier. Failing to allow free and interrupt passage to a pedestrian using a crossing. This is a serious offense. And we have increased the fine to 1,500. I'm not happy with that level of fine for such a serious offense when we know how disrespect some drivers do have when it comes to pedestrian crossing. And here again, we should make sure that Section 153 does not apply, that the minimum what the law says should be upheld by the court. Section 65, this is another here. Failing to comply with traffic sign and traffic direction. You go into no entry. You just go in a one-way road. That's dangerous driving. And here again, the fine is 2,000. I think Section 153 should not apply to such section because they are considered to be dangerous driving. Now, at the same time, while I'm talking about certain offenses, where we have to increase the fine because they deal with dangerous driving, at the same time, there are some increase which are in certain circumstances high, especially when it comes to motor riders. If you have a basket on your guidon, and that's 1,000 rupees fine, I think here, but anyway, it is in the bill. The court here at least can use their discretion. Now, the issue of helmet. This is a serious issue. It is an offense if you do not wear an helmet according to prescribed. My information is that the quality, the size of an helmet has never been prescribed. The specification, the material, and in most countries, there are international standards for helmet by the UN, not by a country, by the UN. But this does not prevent each country to have its own standard. For example, in Kenya, the Kenyan Road Traffic Act requires motorcyclists and their passengers to wear helmet approved by the Kenyan Board of Standards. So here in Mauritius, we have all sorts of helmet. And we don't have a special helmet, especially for children. How many times we found children wearing adult helmets? I see that every day. As long as they have something on their head. Like one police officer told me, that no, here as it is, even if you met an kivet la ulateti because we don't have definition. Pillion riders when it comes to children. We recently have an unfortunate accident in Brabant Street. Very sad one. A young girl lost her life. Do we have any control At what age limit we can carry a child? In Australia, the minimum age is 8 years old. Can't we do a study and find out? We don't have to go 8, we can go to the other side. And then, what protective equipment there should be for the children? I say it is an offense if there is no footrest for pillion rider. But a footrest for an adult and a footrest for a children, for a child, is not the same. Are we making provision for the security of the children? Commercial drivers. I've just mentioned we should make the difference between private drivers and commercial drivers. And when I talk of commercial drivers, we should have a means. Now we know that the GPS is mainly of the commercial vehicles today. The owner, the patron, is more concerned about where his vehicle is, whether it will be used for 8 hours or not, whether it will be parked at the seaside. But that same GPS can be used to control the hours of work of the driver, especially in heavy vehicles, in buses. In private buses, I understand, I know cases where driver has come to me, they are pressurized to do more than 8 hours. Especially in the morning, they are tired. Bread delivery, people in the morning. They finish at work late, they have to go back early in the morning, drive the van, distribute bread everywhere. Any control of this? There are means and ways to control the hours of work of a driver in commercial businesses. So we expect the Honorable Minister to come about these issues. Now, let me come to drug briefly because Honorable Béranger has been very clear. According to the WHO, a total of 159 countries around the world have national legislation prohibiting drug driving. But most of these laws do not clearly define what is considered to be drugs, and we are one here in Mauritius, our law. Drug is included in our Road Traffic Act. We talk about drug and drinks. But unfortunately, it is not defined. The drug is defined as, I quote, drug means any substance which, when consumed, inhaled, applied to or injected with a person's body, may influence the performance of a person to safely drive, and which includes but did not limit to an intoxicating drink. So there is no definition. No definition, and it is not difficult. We just have to redefine drugs as they have done in other countries. In UK, for example, they have a list of the number of drugs and what should be their limit. Prescribed drugs, illegal drugs, drugs by prescription from doctor. So all these we could have looked into the matter, and we were expecting the more so that we know as an evidence, as a fact, that most of the fatal accidents, especially concerning the young, when the toxicology test is done, it reveals the presence of drugs. According to my information, the last accident we had in Bapu, Hospital Judo, the test carried out there reveals the presence of drug. So it should not be difficult to amend the law. We don't have to do much. It's just a question of definition, have a new schedule about the definition of the drugs and the quantum, the limits which are allowed, the threshold, and come with the equipment. But what is most important, Madam Speaker, we have the law, we pass the law, okay, we make the law in such a way that the judiciary will have to apply the law. But like my learned friend, my colleague Fowler just said, our our police equipped to catch these people? Most positive changes to road user behavior happen when road safety legislation is supported by strong and sustained enforcement, and where the public is made aware of the reasons behind the new law and the consequences of non-compliance. Madam Speaker, poor enforcement of traffic laws and regulation can also result from inadequate resources. And we have had several complaints from the police. I myself have raised this issue many times here in court, in the House, sorry. In the House, about equipment to be given to the police officers. Are you aware, Madam Speaker? Honorable Founder just mentioned we can't catch them. He's right. We have only 2 caravans. For the whole island, there are only 2 caravans for drink and drive testing. And we know where they are placed every Sunday. Every Friday, we know one is at African Flag, one is at the door. Garbage. And do you expect us to do this way on a Friday night? Those who have taken the drink, no, they will not. And so we have to give them the equipment. Now the kits are available now. Give the police officers the equipment so that they can do the proper testing. Buy more caravan instead give luxurious vehicles to the top of the police officers. The police force. Buy caravans. Give them tools. Now there is one issue. I raise it because one senior police officer talked to me about it. With the high level of increase in the fines and the consequence thereof, there is the concern that the level of corruption may increase in the enforcement agency. And here a step has to be taken. I'm happy that the Honorable Minister Mentor is here. We have to talk to those responsible in the police. In many countries where they have lower, especially in developing countries, be it in Africa or in the Asian countries, corruption level has increased when the sentence is higher. The temptation to offer a bribe is higher, the higher the penalty is. And the temptation to accept is higher when the sum offered is higher. So we have to look into the matter, we have to look into the issue of corruption. I'm not saying that all the police officers will be corrupt, but we have to have a watchdog. One way of doing this is to arrest or to get people to be checked in team, not 1 or 2 police officers. Have a superior officer and 3 or 4. When you stop a car for drink and drive for any testing, have them in team, not 1 or 2 only. Madam Speaker, in his speech on this bill, the Minister made reference to the absence of driving culture on our roads. I totally agree. But what are we doing to cure this? We amend the law. We say when somebody's license has been cancelled, he has to go for a training. My information is that training is a formality. And many people does not even attend, and they get through. This is my information from, I don't say things lightly when I say, I go and check my information, and this is what happened. They go and spend a few hours at the center where they're able to, and they come to and have their tests. That's it. I regret that the Honorable Minister for Education is not participating in that important bill, because all starts at the level of education, of our school. Because unfortunately, Madam Speaker, tighten the law is not enough. And research has shown that if there is one offense which any offender sees as acceptable to break is the offense of road traffic. So we have to educate our youth. This, Madam Speaker, requires a comprehensive road safety plan, which learners can champion and pass on amongst their peers and families to make a difference in the society and lives of each one of us as road users. So it should be top in our agenda at primary, secondary school. There should be a specific subject on road safety, how to use a road as a pedestrian, as a cyclist, as a driver. We have to look into that. So to conclude, Madam Speaker, let me use one phrase which Mr. Baloomoody in his preface. He says, a positive attitude and the respect of traffic rules are the basis for a change in behavior of road users. We could thus save lives as well as a lot of physical and emotional misery. I've done, Madam Speaker. Thank you.